you know, you're thinking that you've been treated unfairly. Is that right? Instead of saying, you're an ungrateful wretch, I'm working day and night for you, your mother's slaving away, how could you say that? Right? Communicate back what he's telling you, what she's telling you. And obviously for an infant, mirroring their internal world means that you mirror back a soothing response. Obviously it's instinctive. When a baby is crying, you try and soothe it. Now, this is the fundamental need of all humans. And what I will show you in a few slides' time is that if something goes wrong at this level, the consequences can be lifelong. So this information, we need to spread it out there to young and old, especially young people who are starting their own families. Attachment. And if you are interested, you want to learn more about this, when you go home, look on the internet, attachment, child psychology, attachment. Next slide. Freedom to express valid needs and emotions. Look at this young man in this picture here. How do you think he's feeling? Sad? Yes, brother? Sad, yeah? Now, just imagine he's at a soccer game and his team has lost. He's sad, he's sullen, he's down. And let's say that dad says, don't act like a baby. Come on, be a good sport. What's wrong with that response, maybe? What's the problem there? Sorry? He needs to be sympathetic. Ahsan. He needs to be validated. He is feeling sad. Now, human beings feel sad when they have experienced a loss. True? It could be a loss of a loved one, it could be loss of social status, loss of finances, loss related to the dunya or to the next life. So, obviously this boy is feeling sad. So, if we shut down his sadness and we give him the message that you shouldn't feel sad, what are we doing? We are shaming the child. Because his sadness is not something which he has concocted. It's natural. He feels sad. He's lost the game. He invested so much of his energy in that soccer match and he feels sad. So he needs someone, like the brother said, sympathetic, or even more than sympathy, empathy. That you can put yourself in the child's shoes and go to his level and say, that was tough, wasn't it? You worked really hard and you would be training all month. You're feeling sad, aren't you? That's all. If you can do that, it will work wonders, because you're teaching this child, who is going to be a husband to someone's daughter one day, that you can express emotion, and you can work through them, and you can process them, and you can make yourself feel better instead of shutting them off and blocking them out. Emotions are not there to be blocked off and shut off. They communicate something to us. So if we go to the next slide. When the parent allows the child emotional expression, the parent is not threatened by the child's emotions. If your child expresses anger, but as an adult you have never been able to deal with anger well, of course you are going to become very disturbed by your child's expression of anger. You're not going to be able to help him process why he's feeling angry. What you are going to do is short-circuit his anger, block it off, and give him the message that if you feel angry, don't ever express it in front of me. Bottle it up, and if he keeps doing that, his anger is going to manifest itself in a dysfunctional way. If he is introverted by nature, his anger will be internalized and he will feel shame. He might end up with an anxiety problem. If he's extroverted by nature, his anger will be externalized and he will rebel. and be vulnerable to rage, and will become a nuisance to society, an antisocial person. It starts in the home. Sorry, brother? Any questions there? So, you help the child work through strong emotions. Help him process. You're feeling angry. People feel angry when they feel something is unfair. Let's talk about why you feel this was unfair. You're feeling sad. People feel sad when there's a sense of loss. You're feeling anxious. People feel anxious when there's uncertainty. You're feeling fearful. People feel fearful when they feel there is a threat to their physical or psychological integrity. Let's talk about it. Why do you feel this way? And the parent who allows their child the freedom to express needs and emotions welcomes feedback from the child. What do you think about that? You know how powerful that is for a child? What does that communicate to a child? I'm important. Dad, Mum, they're asking for my opinion. That in of itself is so powerful. Right? And we shouldn't do this as a tokenism. Brother Abdul Hamid said I should ask for their opinion, but really, it's meaningless. He's a child. But you have to believe it. A child is pure, is innocent, they're creative. They haven't got the rust that we have as adults, you know, the iron oxide that comes on after many years. And sometimes, man, you'll be surprised. They can give you things which are gems if you allow them to express themselves. The last point on that slide is perhaps the most important. The parent does not shame the child's emotions, drives, and interpersonal needs. Let me explain what I mean. What is shame? Shame is when you're going about your business, everything is good, and all of a sudden you get a whack across the ear. And you get called up for something, and you weren't expecting it. Did you remember that as kids? And it's like your whole world was shattered in that instant. You didn't see it coming. You felt exposed, you felt defective, you felt, man, I want to hide somewhere. If we shame our children's emotions, if we give them the message that you shouldn't feel that way, you can't feel that way, it's wrong to feel that way, we will turn them into shameless people. Let me say what I mean. If you overly shame a child, if you put him down constantly, that child as an adult will become shameless. What do I mean by what's shameless? What are some examples of shameless behavior? Antisocial behavior, addictive behaviors, hostile, narcissistic. All these things have their roots in shame. For if you are shamed and made to feel defective and inferior, you are going to have to develop some strategy to overcome that sense of inferiority you have with yourself. And then when you grow up, it might be a chemical addiction, a behavioral addiction, some sort of narcissistic personality. So we have to be aware. Am I making sense here? People following generally what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, next one. So we've gone through the secure attachment, the first fundamental need. The second one was, this is a little memory test. What was the second one? I just had it on there. So secure attachment and freedom to
express
valid needs and emotions. Third fundamental need of a child. The need for spontaneity and play. What did Imam Ali alayhi salam say? Teach your children
swimming and archery.
Right? Now, don't take that literally, that's the only two sports. Take from it the principle. Right? Hockey, basketball, some of the Muslim sisters, soccer, netball, physical activity. Now, we've got two pictures here. I want a show of hands for which one do you think, which child do you think is, how can I put this? Let me word the question properly. Which activity of those two pictures, playing the violin or painting, which one is more psychologically healthy for a young child? If you think it's the playing the violin, raise your hand. If you think it's painting, raise your hand.